Formula One fans, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for watching the program. You are in Paddock headquarters. Slow news weekend. Of course, I've had my weeks mixed up all month. And for some reason, I thought we'd be racing in Qatar. But of course, that is next weekend. So it's really been a slow weekend. I've watched some other sports, missing my Formula One. There's a couple stories out there. I guess the biggest one really of the day is that Apple TV is making a move for broadcast rights with Formula One in the future. Right now here in the United States, it's broadcast over ESPN, and a couple of the races get broadcast over ESPN2. Now, these are two contrasting companies. Apple has billions of dollars that they're sitting on that they can spend at will on any project that they want. They've obviously done some streaming with sports in other areas that they've been successful with. So it looks like if they were to get the package, it would be over a several year period because there's multiple streamers in multiple different countries. And after a certain period of time, then they would become the sole streamer of Formula One. So we'll see if that happens. It's a little early, but Apple definitely has the money. And in contrast to ESPN, which obviously is a part of Disney, they have all kinds of troubles in their company. They're bleeding money. They just released, I think a couple dozen on-air talent at ESPN and across their networks. I'm not sure how the Disney parks are doing, but the company itself has really been in a rough patch, I guess, the last year or so. So I wouldn't be surprised if Apple came in with an incredible amount of money, reached a partnership with Formula One, and ultimately ended up being the streamer for Formula One races in the future. But if that were going to happen, it's going to take several years for it to happen because different countries have different streamers around the globe. So it would take a while to consolidate them. So that's kind of where we are with that. Interesting bit of news. The other thing is, I did see Checo Perez gave an interview regarding some of the criticism he gets. And he did say that he believed his ethnicity or his background portrays a role in that. Now, I don't necessarily agree. I think Checo Perez has millions and millions of fans all over the globe, and particularly from his home country. And the biggest problem with Checo Perez is that he's in a Red Bull car, and that car is fast. So if they got a Martian to come down and drive that Red Bull and he drove it equal or faster than Max, there would be no criticism. But anything else, there's going to be criticism, and that's just a fact. So when you compare it to other cars, like he had mentioned George Russell crashing on the last lap and losing that third place podium, Mercedes is not in the position where Red Bull is in right now. And that's not necessarily because of George Russell's race or Checo Perez's race. Despite, I know what Helmut Marko had said, and I put out a video regarding that. I disagreed with it. Go back and watch my video on his comments regarding Checo. But that is not necessarily the reason why Checo is getting all of this criticism from everybody else. There's just a lot of pressure. He has a fast car. He's gotten some trouble throughout the season. It wasn't just necessarily race day, it's qualifying. So he's got to tighten that up. I am still a fan of Checo. I like Checo. I just want to be fair in my analysis and my commentary. When I read that Checo was stating that he thinks his race and his ethnic background might play a role in the criticism against him, that may be true for Helmut Marko, but I don't think that's true for the rest of the Formula One community. I think he is really a fan favorite. People want to see him do well. They certainly would want to see him beat Max. A lot of people would, but he's just not in that position. The car isn't right for him at this point, and he's had some troubles he has to overcome. So those are the two stories that we're talking about here today on Paddock headquarters. We got another week before we go to Qatar or Qatar, and I cannot wait. I really like all of these extraneous stories. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but nothing beats actually having these athletes on the grid, racing these cars, making the strategy calls, overtakes, and those sorts of things. So Oh, one more point. Let me just throw this in there because there was an article. I think BuzzFeed had done a survey about the social media posts for Formula One falling off the first 5 months of this year. And I think the number was like 70%. And then Formula One came out and contradicted and said, no, our numbers regarding our social media posts and our mentions certainly contradict such a big drop off. Now, I think there is some reason, certainly with the dominance of Red Bull, to show a loss of interest over Formula One this season, but not necessarily the first 5 months. That was, it's a new season starting. Checo had won a couple races. It wasn't all in the bag completely, month 2, month 3. So I don't know if I believe BuzzFeed's report as 100% accurate either. I would agree certainly that there's probably been a drop off in social media mentions and postings regarding Formula One, and that some of those postings may have been critical because of the dominance of Red Bull. And you're in two schools of thought, right? You either appreciate what Red Bull is doing or you want to see more competition. I personally, at this point, I can appreciate both. I appreciate what Red Bull is doing and Max Verstappen is doing, and I also want to see more competition. So I'm good. Let me know what you think. Put something in the comments. Thank you for watching All Things Formula One. I'll see you tomorrow.